What's up, everyone? Welcome to the most positive pop culture podcast in the multiverse, Metalcore Nerds. For each episode, I have a guest from the podcast amusement community, and we talk about the latest and greatest in entertainment. I'm your host, Sean Mott, and my co-host this week is Shane of Silverstein. Welcome to the show.
Oh, I get to co-host this thing? I thought I was
every guest is a co-host. Every guest is a co-host.
Okay, cool.
Big
Man,
deal.
you think I'm metalcore and now I'm co-hosting a podcast. This is crazy.
You know, I have a weird hot take that I firmly believe that every band that was dubbed like a Screamo band in the 2000s, they're just metalcore bands.
That's a pretty hot take. I agree with you on that one. I'll agree with your hot take. That it is a hot take.
Thanks.
That's all I'll agree with on that one. Yeah, I mean, we have some metal elements. I would say that, we don't have a double. Here's the thing. Silverstein, no double kick. No double kick. That's a big deal.
That is a big deal. That is a really great kind of attributing factor. But you do have like breakdowns and there's riffs that are metal-y,
Yeah,
metalcore is a
true.
broad spectrum. It's a really, especially after like the late 2000s, it got real broad. People didn't like metalcore because it was concerned to a certain subsect of bands, and then it became cool again, and all the bands that like were the pioneers of metalcore became super popular again. It's a weird, when you get to the whole subgenre stuff, it gets confusing. Heavy music is just awesome. I don't care even if there's a little bit of heavy. I think
yeah, it's cool. You're right about the subgenres. It does get a bit confusing even for me sometimes. And I am a metalcore nerd. I'm a lot of nerd. I'm a lot of different nerds, but I am also a metalcore nerd, yes, as well as a punk rock nerd and a screamo nerd and etc.
Yeah, I mean that's the stuff I don't want to say grow up on and date both of us, but it's like my formative teenage years were like the screamo and metalcore stuff when they were separate things. But
when I was growing up, metalcore didn't exist. So
right, yeah. Exactly.
Because we're talking about metalcore, I'm going to say this. The first band that I remember hearing, I actually saw them live because they played in my hometown of Oakville, Ontario, on the floor in a hall. They were so important, I think, and that was Unearth. Like definitely that band, and this was, they really are. I don't feel like they don't get enough credit because, like, I saw them, they rolled in, they had like 7-string guitars. I was like, yeah, you're 7-string guitars. What is this like? You're gonna say like, because at that point, if you saw a 7-string guitar, you assumed someone was gonna sound like Korn, or right, like Limp Bizkit or something. And they had this way of blending that, like, really like intricate metal with like vocals that were not metal, and and shorter songs and like no guitar solos and a lot of the things that like metal wasn't. And they were like that for me. That was the band that I first said. Like I'd heard other things that sort of had like that, metallic hardcore. Like I think of like Earth Crisis or something, which is like, which was way earlier. And they had a way of being like a hardcore band that had obviously big metal influences, or like you could go back to the Cro-Mags if you wanted to. But in terms of like modern metalcore, as like we know it, as we talk about it, for me, Unearth was the band I saw that I went, oh, like that to me, like really unlocked it.
Mine was Killswitch, so it's the same, basically from the
same city. Yes.
Yeah,
right.
And it came out around the same time. One just ended up getting bigger than the other.
Yeah, and I mean, another band you could kind of put in the same breath, really doing it a different way, would be Converge, right? Like for they were also like, hardcore and like super metal too, just like a different kind of metal, like a little less Slayer, a little more Neurosis, and I, there's the differences there with the influences, but like, yeah, in terms of like, when I think of metalcore, if you were to like, just walk up to me on the street and say like, name 3 metalcore bands, I probably would say Killswitch and Gage. They probably would be the top 3 in the top 3. I would just name off the top of my head. So yeah, I'll give you credit for that one.
Cool. Yeah. Wow. I don't think I've ever started an episode, like almost 250 episodes, and I don't think I've ever started one like this. I like this.
What, we don't talk about the title of the podcast on the podcast?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I've ever dissected it like that.
Well, hey, I'm glad it's. I hope that. How many have you done? What episode number is this? Do you know?
I think this is like 240 something.
Oh shit! Okay,
every time I upload one, I look at something and I'm like, oh, that's how many I'm in.
You have done a lot, then. Yes. Well, yeah. I'm happy to. I'm co-hosting this podcast, so like I got to lead it in a good direction, right?
Yeah, you're bringing a great spin to it already. Like, congrats.
Hey,
Good job.
there you go.
Good job. Now, this episode is going to be a little different for people who've listened to the show for 200 plus episodes. You would be very familiar with the now watching section, which I've done in probably for the last few years, but that section is kind of taking over the show now in order to broaden it for my guests and for new listeners and old listeners. We're just going to talk about what we've been watching. We're going to talk about some news as well. We're going to talk about how my co-host got into TV and movies. So it's just going to be more of kind of focusing it on the guest and not making it so particular as it's been in past episodes, I guess. So obviously this podcast is about what we were just talking about for the last few minutes, but it is also talking having your favorite bands or maybe bands you've never heard of talk about the things they love rather than talk about the things they are almost forced to talk about all the time when promoting things. So it's still that. It's just kind of a new
All
twist. Right. I've been doing this almost 5 years. I feel like it's important in the landscape of this type of media that you need to continue to evolve and to change and to keep it fresh for even me as the person who does this. So we're going to try it out, see how it goes.
Sure, dude.
So
damn, 240 episodes in 5 years. That's like, you're like on that weekly, huh? You don't miss a week. Guy doesn't take a week off.
I have taken weeks off here and there, like but Christmas. Now now I've kind of moved to bi-weekly. I'm a freelance graphic designer and work in the music industry, and that has taken over my life in a very busy way. So bi-weekly has made it more easy for me because it's a one-man show here. I do everything. I edit the podcast. As most podcast people can relate to, they understand.
Wait, are you wearing a Korn shirt?
I am wearing a Korn shirt.
That I didn't even see that until now, and I brought up Korn. Like I was like, oh, if you see a 7-string, it's probably Korn. That's so funny.
Korn.
I did not even see that. Yeah.
Simulation is working hard today.
Freaking for real, dude. All right. Sorry. Yeah. Go on. I'm co-hosting, so I can ask you questions too.
Yeah, of course. This is nice.
Not just a one-way street.
Whether you're returning to the show or first time listener, thank you so much for checking it out. The best way to support the podcast, if you're watching this on YouTube, like we just talked about me editing on YouTube, hit that subscribe button there, hit that like button there. Comment, let me know what you think of this new format. Yeah,
give them your banking information. Deposit shit straight in.
Who needs?
I'll follow him if you want. Send him cash money. Mail it, hide it well in an envelope, put it in some paper, send it to his address.
Mail in a nice card, just a nice little card.
He'll throw away the card, keep the money.
Yeah, I'll keep the money. Fuck the card.
That counts.
And if you're listening, if you're on your favorite podcasting platform, rate 5-star there. It helps people find the show, helps it continue to grow. If you want your daily fix of Metalcore Nerds, you can find us on all social media at Metalcore Nerds. There is something I wanted to talk to you about band-wise before we dive into the pop culture stuff. I think what Silverstein has done, and I think it's what every band in your position should do, is that when you do these headline tours, you build these, I'm not going to say complex, but these like diverse tour packages that have kind of bands of your stature or bands that are, established, and then some up and coming bands.
Callous Cowboys. They're great. And I mean, they are, can I just say they're a weird band? Like, can I just say that?
For sure.
I mean,
super weird.
They I mean, me and Carson, we chat all the time. We text, we're good buddies now. I love that guy. But like, what they bring to the fold, like they opened for us in Europe, but they, they're out there and they've got like a violin player, and like, they got like this whole spectacle, and their music is like all like freaking all over the place. Like it takes all kinds of twists and turns. Like it's so, things can be so unexpected with what they're doing. And, for us as a headlining band, and especially we've been doing it for a long time, we want to encourage people to come to our shows early because hopefully they're going to see something cool and they haven't seen before. And, and I think the bands want to support us because we encourage that as well, So, the Callous Cowboys come on the tour and they had a great time. They killed it. And people were like, whoa, this is like something we haven't seen before, So I think that's really special. And like Bloom too, Bloom's a new band from Australia that kind of came across our desk. Like at the time, they're starting to blow up now, but like at the time, we first heard them and booked them on the tour, these things happen so far in advance. They were, they were really, really small, but we just believe in that band. We think that they're really good. And yeah, they are really attractive, but that's not why we put them on the tour, and then, having like somebody like Thursday, who is a band that's been at it for literally longer than we have, it's just really cool to have that, basically have something for everybody, if you're an old school fan, you're going to definitely come out and watch Thursday. If you're a newer fan, maybe, you're there from the beginning and you want to see some new bands that, you don't know about. So it's not a new thing though. We've literally done this since, our first couple headline tours. We've always tried to bring out, different bands. Like, I remember we brought out, From Honor to Ashes and Strike Anywhere, bands that had been in the game longer than we had. And then we brought out this new band to open up. Actually, the slot was half one band and half another band. It was, the opening slot was A Day to Remember and Dance Gavin Dance.
Two small bands you've probably never heard of.
They were at the time.
Yes,
we found those bands. We found those bands. We knew about those bands. We saw the potential. I always say, man, like if there was a stock market for bands, like if you could invest like in the penny stocks of bands, dude, I would be a metalcore millionaire is what I'd be. We'd be on the Metalcore Millionaire podcast right now.
Yeah.
Because like for real, but we saw the potential in those bands and brought them out, and and we've seen what those bands have done. But yeah, it's I don't want to understate the importance of or the importance that we put on our opening act, how like carefully we curate that and really want to make sure that not only do the bands make sense opening for us and that they're going to have a great experience, but also like, we want a little bit of diversity in the bill, but also like, we don't necessarily want to have like, some like death metal band playing like right before some like, soft female fronted folk artist plays. Right. So there's always also that important part too. So there's a lot of moving parts that go into selecting a lineup.
For sure. Oh yeah, I'm well aware of that whole process and everything like that. I did want to know, is there any other kind of like up and comer bands you have on the radar right now, other than obviously the ones we've talked about?
Let's just full disclosure here, as a co-host, I'm allowed to say this. He did tell me he was going to ask me this question, right? So I was like, I better have a couple bands so I don't like sit here for like 5 minutes thinking about it. There's also a band that just opened for us from Australia, because we were just in Australia, called Wayside, not Bayside, Wayside. Super cool band too. Like super new, super fresh. Like probably a lot of people on this side of the ocean don't know them. So that's one to check out, and it's funny. There's a band that I'm actually working with. I should definitely shout them out too. They got the cover of, they're a completely unsigned independent band. Spotify put them on the cover of the All New Rock playlist because they just thought their song was great. That's a band everyone should check out. They're called Tarnish. They're from California, Sacramento, California. Tarnish, great band. It's kind of like Story So Far, but like a little bit more raw.
Okay.
Super cool band. Yeah. So check them out. Tarnish.
Very cool. Awesome. Moving into pop culture stuff. I have no idea what your depth of pop culture consumption is whatsoever. And that's what makes this stuff exciting for me. But I want to know what got you into TV, movies, whatever it is you like to consume. Like, what was the inciting incident, whether it's when you were a kid or when you were older, that kind of it clicked for you?
Growing up, like at a really young age, my favorite, I'm not even going to say my favorite like TV program, but like my favorite thing was He-Man Masters of the Universe.
Okay.
To the point where I couldn't read, but when He-Man would come on, I would get really mad if my mom didn't come in the room, whatever she was doing, and read me the title at the beginning of the episode. Like, this was so important for me to know the title. And what would happen, like, and I would have apparently, I don't really remember this too well, but my mom has mentioned this so many times that I know it's true. But yeah, I would freak out if the episode if she missed it. and to the point where she started just making up the episode names. But I was a little bit smarter than she thought, and I would like actually be like, oh yeah, I actually know that's wrong, and I would still freak out. I'd be like, that's not right. I'd also apparently force her to get on her back, and I would ride her around the living room and call her Battle Cat. So I had it pretty bad early on with Masters of the Universe, and of course, like collecting all the toys and everything. Yeah, man. I don't know. Like, for how old are you?
I am 35.
35. So I'm 44. So it doesn't seem like a big age gap, maybe, but kind of is for like the consumption and where we were at, and like, so a lot of the TV that I watched and stuff like in my high school and stuff like that was like, it was like an event, like Thursday nights when Friends was on. That was like a thing, man.
TGI
It sounds so
Friday,
lame now. What's that?
TGI Fridays.
TGI Fridays. What's TGI Fridays?
Oh, I always
I mean, I'm from Canada too, so we had different TV networks.
Thursday might have been the thing, but TGI Fridays, I think it was like ABC or NBC, and it was like a block of like the biggest shows.
And I'm jumping ahead like probably almost 15 years here talking about Friends, but like I remember when after Friends had been on for 5-6 years, I think I was in like the end of high school or my first year of college, like Thursday nights, everybody watched that show. And I know it's not like a cool show. Like it kind of got cool a little bit because it was on Netflix and people were watching it again. But like that show was so massive. Like I remember, we would all go to like friend's house. We'd put it on. Like we're talking about watching it on like a 19-inch TV, literally,
Yeah.
And a 19-inch TV that weighed like 200 pounds, literally you'd be in the living room watching the show, and then commercial, boom, everyone goes to the kitchen, like makes a drink or goes to the bathroom, whatever. And then like, someone would be, in the bathroom and you'd be like, it's back on, like literally like, and everyone would come rushing in. And then like, people like, shh, like, cause there was no going back,
No.
and like, that's something that I miss so much about TV, and that like, or like some of the other shows, like, like Dawson's Creek was like such a big hit when I was in high school, and like those, and like, it was an event, and then the next day everyone would be at school, you'd be talking about what happened in whatever show it was, or even like Seinfeld, like, shit, I remember like talking about Who Wants to Be a Millionaire the next day in high school because that was like that was a big hit. It's like, I couldn't believe he didn't know the answer to that question, and like that is gone. It's pretty much gone. Sure, there's like those big shows that have like, it's like a finale of Severance or something, like that show. And of course I watched that, and the finale came out and I watched it when it came out, and and everyone's talking about that. But then there's also like, you can't spoil it, no spoilers, so we can't talk about it. And then you don't have like, there's not the same community, anymore.
No.
And I really do miss that when like, it was like you had these networks and these TV programs, and even if they weren't the best shows all the time, everybody watched them together. And it was like, we were all watching the same, things. And a lot of that shaped us, and shaped our kind of generation. And now it's like, man, like there's just so much out there.
There's an overwhelmingly amount. And this comes from someone who watches a lot of TV and movies, and even my consumption level, which is probably higher than most people. And I still feel like there's a million things I can watch.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
What's really, really funny, and like, not to get too down this like weird rabbit hole, but like I've thought about this quite a bit. So like, let's say my kind of like, my blossoming years, of like finding out what I like and exploring stuff, like let's say it was like 95, 96 when I was like, 14, 15 years old. Right. So at that time, 95, there had been, only so many decades of like movie and TV, really. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
And so much of it was just not available. Like there was, if you wanted to watch something, you had to hope that your video store had it on VHS and that it wasn't rented. at the time, because they probably only had one copy of, like, I don't know, The Blob. I remember I rented that when I was a kid, you know. Like, I wanted to watch every horror movie, you know, ever, right? So I like, you know how many terrible Friday the 13th movies there are? Oh my God. Like, they're all kind of bad, you know, but like I found out the hard way, because that's like what, you know, I heard about it and it's iconic, and, you know, so you go to the video store and you watch them, and you don't know any better, you know?
Nope.
And it wasn't unlimited, and, you know, so, but my point is, like, you have like this kind of a relatively small period of time from when, you know, like, and I'm not going to watch movies from the 30s and 40s, right? So, like, you only have a couple of decades really of, like, you know, modern cinema and television. I mean, wasn't even a thing until like the 50s, if you want to get technical, right?
Right.
And then, you know, you think about somebody that's growing up now, that's that age, right? And you have like 30 more years, double of the amount of time, but it's got to be like exponential, the amount of stuff that's been produced. And then on top of it, the amount of stuff that is just available.
Yeah.
It is crazy, you know, because
Insane.
when I'm 14, 15 years old, there's such a finite number of things that I really can watch, you know? And then here's the thing, dude. This is the craziest thing too. So I read this book called The 90s by Chuck Klosterman. It's really, really good book. And since that's the era, you know, the decade I grew up in, you know, it was really, really cool to read. But what I never thought about was that before the invention of the VCR, there was no way to watch anything at all on demand at all. So like my sister's 50, right? And she just caught the like video store like wave. Anyone older than my sister, all the stuff that they would have watched had to be on TV. Like they would have to have, like, you want to watch, like, let's say The Godfather, right?
Right.
The movie came out in 1972, I think. So like, let's say it's 1982, right? And that movie's been out for 10 years, and like there's no, like, I don't know when the VHS was invented, right? But let's just say it was probably in the early 80s. I don't know,
Probably,
right?
Yeah.
Right, something like that. So let's say you want to watch The Godfather, one of the greatest movies of all time. You can't. There's no way to watch it. You just can't watch that movie. The only way you can watch it is if it happens to come on TV. And I guarantee you, if it comes on TV at that time, it's heavily edited.
Oh yeah.
Because they can't show that kind of violence, especially at that time on television. Or you have to wait until it's like a replay at a movie theater somewhere.
Yep.
And that to me is like crazy, because now people don't know how good they have it, man. You can watch.
Yeah.
You could spend, if you wanted to, in the next like 100 days, every night you could watch the top 100 movies of all time. You would know more about cinema than probably the average like movie reviewer in the 1980s that probably hadn't even seen all those movies. You know what I mean? In like 100 days, you could watch 100 movies, or you could watch 2 a night. Let's talk about a month and a half, and you're like, you know what I mean? It's like that whole thing about how important the video recorder was, and now just extrapolating that to like just streaming and the ability to watch everything. When I had that realization in my mind, it kind of blew my mind, you know, because you take that for granted.
For sure. Yeah, I feel like it's like a gift and a curse sometimes. I don't even want to call it a curse, because it's like, what is it really a curse about having unlimited access to like things to enjoy, you know? But I guess.
Well, I know, but it is though, because like, you know, and this is such a common problem. Like, how many times have you like put on the TV and like fucking wasted 20-30 minutes just trying to figure out what you watched, what you're gonna watch, you know? Yeah, it's like it's all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a constant struggle, I think, because sometimes, you know, you want to be in the right mood for the certain thing, or you don't want to like put something on that you might not be in the right headspace for, and kind of like sully the experience of it.
Yeah,
it's can be such a complicated, weird thing to try and tackle. Usually, I have like I try to keep current with things, and there's very few things I watch with my wife. As far as TV goes, she doesn't really like TV, so that's easy, I know when a show's coming out that she wants to watch, and then we're like, it's go time, and then we usually just breeze through, and it's nice. It's a nice little thing we get to enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, I think there are like some good TV shows now. Like I thought Severance was pretty good. But so much of this shit now, it's like I think it's designed because they know like people are going to spend most of the time like scrolling on their phone while they're trying to watch a show. And like so many of the times like these shows, like the problems get resolved so quickly, and like some of the plot lines are like kind of just like so basic. And I feel like some of that's got to be by design a little bit so that maybe people aren't getting confused. I don't know. Like, there's just a lot of drivel. Like I was watching that show on Apple TV called Stick. It's like the #1 show. It's like Owen Wilson. He's like a old golfer, washed up golfer or whatever. I'm like, it's fine. But like, there's so many shows that are just like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's funny because I was like talking to my friend because I feel like I hit a wall in watching. So I write, for anyone who's new listening and hasn't heard me talk about this, I write about TV for Collider.com. So I already watched a lot of TV as it is. I get a lot of stuff early. So I've hit a wall in my time of the year because once the year starts over, everything resets in my brain for some reason as far as like new things. But I've definitely hit a wall of I can call when things are going to happen, or kind of like I was like, oh, that was really convenient. I've hit that wall where that stuff is so prevalent in my brain, especially in TV, because I've watched so much. It's like you see, it's like I'm watching the same show. It's just different actors are playing it, and the situations are just
yeah,
a little bit. Because I watched that. It's one of the top shows on Netflix, but with Netflix, everything's a binge, so the top show changes weekly because they're dumb and won't conform to the weekly release schedule for some reason. I don't really understand it, but I watched that Untamed show with Eric.
Oh
Bana.
yeah.
It was, and that was like, some people were like, "Oh, it's really good," and I'm like, "It's fine." Like I'm not mad. I watched it, but I was like, I called the ending. I was like, "Oh, I bet that's what's gonna happen," and there was some very big plot conveniences.
Yeah,
multiple times where like something's happening and then a person shows up right up that time when it's in Yosemite Park. Like this massive, expansive, dangerous park, and then these two certain characters just happen to be at the right place at the right time. I don't know.
Yeah, man.
That's why I was like, I don't know if I'm buying that.
I skipped that one. Yeah, I don't know. I know what you mean about the binge model, and yeah, it is confusing to me. Switch gears a little bit, but like, yeah, how you'd think like if the goal of Netflix is to keep subscribers, wouldn't it make a lot more sense to roll things out week after week so that like if you're into Untamed and you've watched the first 4 episodes and then you want to watch episode 5 and it falls on the next billing cycle, you would just keep your subscription because you want to watch the next episode? Isn't that just like basic business?
Yeah, and it's I don't understand how they can't see that the biggest shows on TV, like a Severance, or or anything on Disney Plus or whatever, like The Mandalorian or something, that you see that the shows, or like The Last of Us or anything like that, you see that these shows grow as the series goes along. So it's more people, more eyes on your streaming service as it goes along. The more people talk about it, the more it stays in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, I know. And then and also like, yeah, and then of course like Severance is the best example because everybody was talking about that show, including, that's how I heard about it, was like people had already watched, because the first season wasn't that big.
No,
when it was on, right? And then because I didn't hear about it in
first season, but season 2,
you
like
were.
the talk of the town, like
Yeah.
I don't think I've had more people stop to talk to me, like just like around, because like all my friends know I live pop culture. I've never had so many people stop to want to talk about Severance to me, to a point where Sam is like, I will never watch the show because I've heard so many people talk about it. But the difference between season 1 and season 2 are
but like
drastic.
Literally my entire band was talking about this show. They'd all watched the first season. They were having little watch parties every week when the show would come out.
Awesome.
Seriously, they'd all gather around a freaking iPad and watch this show on the bus. And I was like, well, I got to catch up. So you know what I did? I freaking got Apple TV Plus. I didn't have it. And now I'm watching the other Apple TV Plus shows because I'm not going to cancel the subscription, because you don't do that. You get a subscription and then you pay for it forever until you die, even if you don't watch it. That's what you do, right?
100%. Yes.
So it is like a little bit strange that Netflix is holding on to this. They do it a little bit though. Like I know, like I watch some trash TV. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not too good for like Love Is Blind. And that's a show they do roll it out a little bit more slowly. So but they never roll it out week after week. They'll do like, oh, there's 5 episodes and then
volumes,
like, more coming here, and then they do sort of. So
yeah, and even that, like Wednesday came out 4 episodes, 1 drop, and then a month later 4 episodes, and it's like, why don't you just release them weekly?
Right. That's true. They did it. I guess maybe they're coming into it a little bit. Maybe they just don't want people to complain if they switch their model. I don't know who really cares, but like Cobra Kai, they did that too, right? Or Squid Game too, actually. Yeah,
they split it up a little. It's like their like middle ground for what it is. All right. Well, you said you had Apple TV Plus. So what other shows on Apple TV Plus have you watched other than Severance?
That's about it, really. You know what I want to watch? I really want to watch Dark Matter, because
cool.
that I read that book quite a while ago. I think maybe when it came out. My sister is a librarian, so she's like book crazy. She's read every book ever, and she said to me years ago, she's like, you might really like this book. So she gave me a copy of it, and it was I probably read that book around 2016. I'm not sure when the book came out, because I know because I wrote a couple songs on our 2017 Dead Reflection album about that book, because I really like that book. So then, whenever I read a book, I always kind of wonder if they're going to make it into a movie. Like I remember Ready Player One was a book I read, I really liked. Oh man, did they ever fuck up that movie? That movie sucks. But I love the book. Love the book. And so Dark Matter was one I was like, that could make an awesome movie. So then when they turned it into a TV series, and that's on my top on my list to watch, because I didn't know actually until I got Apple TV Plus and dug through the depths of it that it even existed. So that's what I'm
for anyone who hasn't heard or watched Dark Matter. The basic premise is it's this teacher, but he's really into like multiversal theory, and like his business partner ends up becoming like super like famous and rich in like quantum mechanics and stuff like that. And then one day he wakes up and he's in a different world than what he remembers, and you kind of find out that a version of him like from another universe steals his life, and in that universe he invented multiversal travel. And then it's like basically him trying to, and it's not the way they explain the multiverse is very easy in my opinion, with everything there. There's a lot of different versions of the multiverse. It's pretty much all stems of his life, so it's like the alternate infinite versions of what could happen in his life, and he has to try and traverse that to find his way back home. It's pretty wild.
And it reminds me, actually, that when I read the book, it reminded me a little bit of this movie from the 90s called Mr. Destiny. Do you know this movie?
No, I do not.
It's Jim Belushi, and wow. it's the movie starts and he's like a kid, and he's like playing baseball. It's like a big moment, and like the pitch comes, right, and everyone's watching, and he swings and he misses, and it's like, and everyone's like so disappointed, and he's like this loser, right? And so goes through his whole life, and it's and then he's like in his 40s or whatever, and then like something happens. I feel like Michael Caine might be in this movie, and Michael Caine shows up as like this kind of like genie kind of guy, and he's like like I'm really summarizing this badly because I probably haven't watched the movie in 30 years, right? But he kind of says like, oh, if you had if you what would have happened if you if you hit a home run instead of striking out in that baseball game when you were a kid. And then in a blink of an eye, he's like, this different person, and he's like running the company, and then his boss is like the loser, and and it's like a little bit like Back to the Future too, like the whole Biff thing, right? So it's that premise, which is like, it always reminded me of that movie. And yeah, I remember Mr. Destiny being pretty good, like in hindsight. I want to see what is. Oh, it's got a
Here's the Rotten
35 on
Tomato
Rotten.
score. Yeah,
35.
35 critic, 56 audience.
Yeah,
it has an
it's
average 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd though. That's not terrible.
Yeah, I don't remember it. John Lovitz and Courtney Cox. Man, okay, this is pretty good.
And Linda Hamilton.
Yeah, Linda Hamilton too.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a star-studded cast. Those are some legends. But yeah, I always like those kind of movies, the what if movies and stuff. And I even did a whole album with that. Like our This Is How the Wind Shifts album, which is a 2013 release. Basically, side A, each song is a story, and then side B, the next track. So there's 14 tracks, so 1 and 7, 2 and 8. Those songs all go together in pairs, and each song is kind of like a what if, or the alternate version or the other side, of it. So I've always been attracted to that kind of those kind of stories. I think that's something everybody kind of thinks about,
For sure. Yeah, it's very relatable, very easily relatable too.
Yeah, no doubt.
We were kind of on the sci-fi train. I just want to talk about there's a new Alien. It's the first ever Alien series coming out, Alien Earth. I've seen 6 episodes. When this episode airs, 2 episodes will be out on Hulu or Disney Plus from wherever you are listening to this from. That depends. It's all going to eventually be Disney Plus anyway, so I'm sure it's on Disney Plus wherever you're watching it. And I interviewed some of the cast. So if you haven't checked that out, I interviewed Alex Lothar and Sydney Chandler. You can check that out on the Ages of Fandom YouTube channel. Super, super awesome people. And Alien is kind of a weird thing. I rewatched the whole franchise. Some of them for the first time, like 3 and 4. I don't think I ever watched before.
I don't think I've ever seen them.
Leading up to Romulus. They're really fucking weird and kind of don't matter, if I'm being honest. And obviously it's like the first 2 really are the ones that matter. The Alien vs. Predator movies aren't even canon and they're terrible anyway. I watched those 2 because I haven't watched them since I was a kid. So I was like, I'll just try them.
Yeah.
They're laughably bad. No wonder they're like, they don't matter. I thought Alien Romulus was awesome. It is very much, obviously,
I like it too.
There's a lot of homage to Alien and Aliens in it. Obviously, it kind of does its own thing. But this show, I feel like it's like the craziest amalgamation of like 1, 2, and I guess if you want to throw in Romulus in there, and what Ridley Scott tried to do in the prequels that I think he ultimately failed. I've gotten into some heated debates about whether those movies are good or not. My take is that I think they are good sci-fi movies. I think they are bad alien movies. It's kind of like 10 Cloverfield Lane, where it's like the ending happens and I'm like, I love Cloverfield. That's like one of the first theater experiences I can remember as like a teenager, being like walking out of a theater and being like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Right.
Is that movie. But like
I love that
end of that movie, you can just kind of take it off and it doesn't matter. It's kind of the same thing with Prometheus. Like if you just didn't include, I mean, there's some cool Wayland Yutani stuff in the beginning, which that's fine. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that world building and stuff. But as soon as it gets to the actual, like the Deacon and the protomorphs and the whole circle of life with David, I'm like, Ridley Scott just got lost his own sauce, in my opinion. I just think it's like too convoluted, and like so many people are trying to come at me and be like, sci-fi is about asking questions. I'm like, it is, but if you attempt to sort of explain it and you just half-ass everything, I was like, that's not good sci-fi, in my opinion. But I digress. I think this show does that far better, and it introduced these new aliens into the series that are really fucking weird too. That's cool. There's a lot of if you're coming for xenomorph stuff, there is a lot of xenomorph stuff, so you will have a field day with that. I think there's almost a xenomorph sequence in every episode. So
yeah,
if you're looking for that, it's there.
I think at some point when you talk about these big franchises that like inevitably they have to keep going, like the wheels of commerce, the brand, they keep turning and they have to, right? And like, like Ridley Scott is like, he's got to be fucking almost 90 years old. Like this guy is old. Yeah, and he's 80 something, and obviously he's retired from this and it's moved on, and and you have the next generation of this. And to me, I think that's good. I think like taking people that are fans of this, that love these movies. They have talked to their friends about it their whole lives, about why what they like about a series, or whether it's based on whatever it's based on, or what we like about the prequels, or what we can use from that to, to expand it out and everything. I think that is really good. I think when you have the original creator of a show and he's like kind of he's probably forgotten things, and he's like sort of like too immersed in specific things that like you're too deep in the forest to see the trees,
Right.
And whatever that phrase, whatever the forest
sounds
trees,
good to me.
Yeah,
sounded good to me.
And so I think when you have these, Ridley Scott's too old to do this now, whatever, he's probably signing off on it, but like, he's not like watching Alien Earth and being like, no, we got to change that. I don't think that's happening. So I think that ultimately is a good thing. People are really, really keen about these brands, and they care. And when you have good people that get involved, I think you can have really good things happen.
Yeah, and I think that was the problem with some of the movies in the 2000s when it was like the era of the million remakes. I feel like everyone was so focused on IP and making money, which like obviously at the end of the day, all this stuff is about making money. Like you can't take that out of the equation. But I in today's era, when like 25 less people are going to the movies and there's so much out there, like you have to put out quality stuff or people aren't going to show up. And that goes for streaming too. There's a million shows out right now. There always is, and there always will be. So you have to put your best foot forward to create something quality and something that's made with love, or else it's going to get lost in translation eventually.
No question.
I mean, of course there's like, like reality TV will probably never die and stuff like that, but people also like watching mindless stuff. I like watching mindless stuff too. It's like
dude, you know how much 90 Day Fiance I watch? I watch all of it. I love it. It's my like I'm making dinner, put something on. If I miss parts, if I miss an episode, whatever. They're gonna recap that shit 100 fucking times. Like, it's like that's my mindless show that I like, me and my girlfriend watch, and we have a good time watching it. And like, dude, I don't claim it's good. I don't know. I listen to some terrible music too. It's fine. You can do whatever you want to do, and that's fine. Everything can exist in its own place, and whatever. But when we're talking about like legendary IPs and stuff that like people care about, to me, that is like, that's got to be good. It's got to be on point. There's a legacy that has to be maintained.
You've probably seen everyone talk about this movie at this point. Weapons, the new Zach Kreger.
I've seen, I've heard some rumblings about it. Apparently it's crazy. And I saw the trailer, and the trailer, I was like, this looks like maybe typical, but maybe not. Maybe tonight, Cheap Tuesday. I go to the movies every Tuesday. So I live in Las Vegas, and Cinemark has $5 movies on Tuesdays. So I go just about every week.
That's a great thing to capitalize on, honestly, because movies are expensive,
and it's actually cheaper. So I have another hack too. So not only is it $5 to go to the movies on Tuesday, but I buy gift cards at Costco. You can buy Cinemark gift cards for a discount. So you can buy a $50 gift card for $40. So really, it's really like a $4 movie when you think about it.
Big brain move right there. That's
right.
Good. That's good
right.
stuff. Yeah, that's good.
Big
stuff.
brain. I got a big brain.
That's really good stuff. What I like about I only watched the first trailer. I'm trying to actively avoid trailers, which I used to be the exact opposite. I used to try and consume like every trailer, even to a point where people send me trailers and I just heart it. I don't even watch it.
No, man.
So if you guys send me trailers, sorry.
Yeah.
I usually don't watch it. Unless it's a superhero movie, I'll watch it because that's
for sure. And like, I mean, you're a guy that you've already said like you watch so much stuff, like you already know what's going to happen. So like, I guess if you see a little bit of a spoiler in a trailer, it's like, whatever. But no, there's definitely been movies that I've been really excited for that I've like not intentionally avoided the trailers. Like, and it comes out in the theater, like close my eyes, cover my ears because I don't want to see it. Like Ready Player One was one like that, and then I ended up hating the movie anyway. But it's funny because this one time I remember, it's still one of my favorite movies. I think it came out in 2005. It's called A History of Violence.
Oh yes.
You've seen it's what a great movie. So I went into that movie. No, I knew nothing about it. It was like it was in the theaters. It had a good rating. This is back when it was in the newspaper. I think the
Oh, wow.
Toronto Star gave it four or maybe even 5 stars. I was like, oh, I got to see this fucking movie, and it's with Viggo Mortensen, and I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so like I love him. So I went to see the movie, knowing nothing about it, and I was like, incredible movie, one of my favorite movies to this day. And then later on, somehow, somewhere, I think I was watching another, DVD, and they used to put trailers at the beginning of DVDs too. People that don't remember that. So the trailer, like an old trailer, came on for a DVD that I was watching, and I went, "Oh my fucking god! If I saw that trailer, it would have completely ruined the movie." Completely ruined the movie. And there's other people that didn't like the movie, and I think that's why. I think they probably saw the trailer because it's the worst movie trailer. It gives away
Wow.
everything. Gives away everything. And that movie's important. And I don't even, if anyone's listening to this and they want to just like, hey babe, let's watch a movie tonight that we both haven't seen, because a lot of people haven't seen that movie. That's good.
Yep.
It's like a thriller, but like deeper, but like it's really, really good. Just I won't tell you anything about it. Just watch it, And like that's where I'm at. Like, I don't really care what a movie's about. I don't really care who's in a movie. If it's good, I'll watch it. Doesn't matter. And that's where I'm at in my life.
I will say the trailer for Weapons, at least the first one, it gives away pretty much the opening scene.
Okay.
One thing I'll give away is, and it's more of a reassurance than giving anything away, because if you watch
I'm
the
probably
trailer,
seeing it tonight, dude.
Exactly what happens. So as usually movies build up to an inciting incident, and you have to wait like 20 minutes, 30 minutes to get to that's the whole first act of the movie.
Yeah.
This movie, what you see in the trailer of 17 kids disappearing in the middle of the night, that's the opening scene. Straight up the opening scene. There's no build up to it. That is the opening. I don't even want to say too much about it, because I love the way it's told, and like they didn't give away anything, the marketing, in which I love. And cool. I watched a ton of interviews, and he told the team at WB to be like, hey, focus on the question, not the answer. And they did that. And I guess there was a few things where he's like, maybe take that out. So I'm like, really, that's awesome. I love that.
It really depends on the movie. I think that if a movie has that, just a really cool premise, that can be enough to sell it, whether the movie is good or bad. The movie I always think of like that is The Purge. Like The Purge, coolest concept.
Yeah,
it's seriously. A great concept. That concept alone, like, sold tickets for that movie, and like people watch that movie because that is a badass, very cool concept. The movie, not that great, but it's a really, and then now this whole franchise, because just based on one really, really cool concept, and that can be all it takes. You don't need to know anything else,
Yeah, and it's
Paranormal Activity is a similar one too.
Oh yeah,
like
similar. Yeah, that concept is, and that's what's crazy, is that I feel like that's the concept of this movie, or at least what people think the concept of this movie has sold it. It beat Freakier Friday in the box office. It made double its production opening weekend, because horror movies are made for $0, which is awesome. And that is so cool to see an original horror movie be #1 in the box office, beat a legacy sequel.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And that's like, to me, that's such a fucking win. Like, that's so fucking cool. And I think this is my favorite movie of the year. I've watched like 35 movies this year. It's not going to work for everyone. And that's like, I think that's the thing with horror or any movies in general. Sometimes it's not going to work for you, but it's told in a way that I really enjoyed. Even me trying to look at it, like I had that conversation about being really critical on stuff with my friend who went to the movie with me, driving to the theater. And I like, there was certain things where I'm like, that seems a little weird. And then they would answer it. And I'm like, oh, like the script feels so tight.
Nice.
And there's this crazy story, because so many people are kind of comparing Zach Kreger to like Jordan Peele, because they both kind of started in sketch comedy. He was from The Whitest Kids You Know, obviously Jordan Peele's Key and Peele, and now they've become kind of this like horror event filmmakers, writer directors. And Jordan Peele has his production company has a deal with Universal. This movie he wrote right after he did Barbarian, which was the same. Barbarian was the same thing. People loved it or hated it, which is fine, or they loved half of it and hated the second half, which I totally understand. It's a super weird movie and it takes a very hard left turn at the halfway point. So I totally get that. So he wrote this, and then there was a bidding war for this script. Jordan Peele wanted this movie so bad that when WB ended up getting it and not Universal and not Jordan Peele being producing it, he fired his management company, his management team after this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, hey, then there's a reason that this movie is good. There's a reason that people are watching this movie and loving it. And like, yeah, you know, when you have those movies, you know, like those big iconic horror movies that take the world by storm, it's a special moment. Like I think of, you know, Blair Witch Project, you know, back in the day. More recently, like maybe to a lesser extent, this is kind of junky, but like Terrifier 3, like that was like crazy. Like that came out of nowhere. Like I'd seen the Terrifier movies. My girlfriend is like a massive horror fan, so we watch all those movies, and so like that came out, and like I forget what it did the opening weekend, but it did like, I think it might have done 10 times its budget opening weekend. That movie, right?
It's
like
a lot of money,
you know, and then all of a sudden, like their merchandising, like it was all sold out. And like, you know, when you have these kind of moments when in like, you know, in counterculture movie and music too, for that matter, you know, when you have like an unexpected hit or, you know, big record on the charts, I think that stuff always feels good, you know, and is a lot better than just like, oh, here we go, another Alien remake, and oh yeah, look, it's you know, it's underperforming, okay, or another movie that's like, oh, it's Star Wars. Well, it doesn't matter how bad it is, it's going to be number one in the box office. Like there's, you know, there's that stuff isn't that compelling, you know, and it's kind of annoying, honestly. But when you have these like these when you have these like underdog stories, that's just the best, especially when the films are actually good.
Yeah, and this one, I thought it was going to be a similar kind of conversation online as to Barbarian, where some people are like, "Oh yeah, I hated it. Oh, I loved it. I hated it." But most of the stuff I've seen is like pretty positive. Obviously, there's gonna be people who don't like it. Like a movie wouldn't exist if people liked it and didn't like it. Nothing can be 100% one way or the other way. It's almost physically impossible. But I've been shocked to see how many people are so high on it, as high as I was on it too, which is, that's always just like, I don't know, like I start this podcast, so like it's the most positive pop culture podcast. It's like I feel like pop culture has become a thing, which is like weird because I started a podcast talking about this stuff ad nauseum and I post about it online and all this stuff. But I feel like rather than, I talk about it because I love it, and that's why I like talking about it. I feel like people have like made it to this thing where people have to turn it into some rating or something, and that's what I don't like about it. I don't like, obviously I want people to have their opinions, but I love talking to people about their opinions. I don't even care if your opinions are different from me. I love hearing different perspectives and being like, why did you feel that way? I love dissecting that perspective of things. It's just, I've seen so many people come at it in such a way. Like I saw there's this actually been this like really great discourse on the dude Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports or whatever. He posted about Sinners, and his like review was like, it was overhyped and or whatever, and everyone's like, that's not a review, that's you talking about how other people reviewed it. And I'm like, that's so true though. Like so many people cling on to things that like other people are feeling about it, but it's like, how did you feel about it?
Right.
And I guess that it does speak to it a little bit, being like, obviously I thought it sucked because I'm saying people overhyped it or whatever. I just hate the term overhyped.
Right.
I like, just say you don't like it and that's fine. Like, and just move on. I don't know. It's just like this weird thing. I've been
so true. That is, that is so super true. But I mean, yeah, that is always a conversation though. Like people will say things that are overrated or underrated. You know, that's not a new thing, really, right?
No.
I mean,
it's just amplified.
And yeah, it is. Everything's amplified. But like, yeah, I mean, I really liked Sinners. It was a bit of a weird slow burn at times. Like
for sure.
And for a while I was like, what's happening? You know, like what is going on? And it had, you know, that's a movie that I really, like, I did see the trailer a lot of times.
Yeah.
I really wonder what that movie would feel like if I didn't see the trailer. Like all of a sudden they're vampires. Like what? I think I would like it less actually in that case, which is a kind of an
Yeah.
interesting one because that just contradicts everything I've said for the last 25 minutes. But
It can be both, I think. I think it can be both for sure. Because
let me ask you a question though, because I'm sure, like, I don't know, I'm sure like a lot of people watching this or watch all 240 of your episodes, but probably a couple of them will come over for my channel, and I think some of the people would love to know, you as a person that watches so much TV and movies. Do you have like a top 3 like recent TV shows or a couple movies that people should watch that? And again, let's go for maybe a little more on the underrated side, because like obviously everyone knows like Severance and stuff like that, but maybe a couple things that people might have missed.
Yeah,
I
Severance
am co-hosting. I can act this.
You can ask this. You're totally right. Severance is my favorite show of the year, but yeah, obviously, like everyone knows about Severance. It's like,
did you? Like
I also watched. I loved it, and I know people hate it.
I like it. Yeah,
but here's the thing that like makes me feel so confident in my opinions most of the time. I saw that show. I saw the whole thing before it even came out, so it's like I was holding on to that ending without giving, like, there was friends that were like, you knew that's how it ended and you didn't say anything. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna ruin it for you. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, I would never do that. But they're like, I can't believe you held on to that information and like did not spoil it. But I found other people who watched it and I talked about it with them. Like, that's what I, like, that's the way out is to do that. But that's one I really liked. It's hard because like I think that my favorite shows of the year are like the biggest. Like The Pit is one of my favorite shows. Obviously, everyone talked about The Pit. There is a show on, it's not small, but the show Paradise on Hulu. It stars Sterling K. Brown. There's an insane like twist in episode 1. So if you somehow haven't watched it or haven't heard me talk about it, watch it. And if that twist works for you, then keep watching it. If it doesn't, then I don't think it's the show for you.
It's called Paradise. Paradise on Hulu, you said?
Yeah. And if you watch the trailer for that one and then watch the show, it'll blow your mind, because I think I watched it after because I saw a friend posting about it. I was like, oh, I'm going to check this out. And it's the same writer as This Is Us. It's not like This Is Us. So don't worry about that. The show's debilitating and depressing. It's very different. It does have emotional moments, but it's not the same. And so that's why I watched it. And then I saw a trailer. I think it was like on an ad for an Hulu thing or something. And I was like, oh, wow, that is not what the show is at all. Good for them. It's like, good for them. So I think that's one that I think more people should watch. This is on Apple TV Plus. Your Friends and Neighbors, which has John Hamm. And the basic premise is he's this massive, like, I think like a stockbroker, something like that, like hedge fund guy. And then he's like been divorced, and his wife is like with like one of his really close friends, and his life starts kind of falling apart, and he ends up starting to steal from all of his neighbors in his area to keep his like very high-end lifestyle going.
Oh,
that show is awesome. It is so good. And I haven't seen a ton of people talk about that one. So that's a really good one. For movies, there's this movie called The Life of Chuck. It's based on a Stephen King short story. It was the screenplay and was directed by Mike Flanagan, who
I'm writing these down, by the way. Go on. Yes.
Awesome. He's most known for some of the best Netflix series like Haunted on Hill House, Midnight Mass, The Fall of House Usher. He's that guy. And he directed this movie. And it's so weird to kind of describe this movie because obviously all those are kind of like horror, thriller, mystery kind of things. This movie is not that. It's really like a beautiful story that's told in reverse. It's a 3-act structure, and it's told from Act 3 to Act 1. And it's kind of told out of time in a lot of ways. And it's really just about life and about your worth as a human being. There's this big thing in it, and it's from like a poem or a book, and I can't remember what it's from. They say it in the movie, but they teach it in a class, and one of the students asks about it, and the teacher explains it in this beautiful way. And the saying is, I contain multitudes. And it's like basically saying like everyone in life, no matter what you do in your life, that is enough to have an amazing life. And it's just a like total exploration of how life is a beautiful thing that should be cherished, and it has meaning because it ends. That's one of my favorite movies of the year. And like, I feel like not that many people have seen it, and not that many people have talked about it. That's probably that's like, I know I said I hate like underrated or overhyped, but like, that's like my underdog movie of the year is that movie. That would be the one I would recommend to people who haven't even heard of it maybe or seen it. But that movie is so good. I was bawling it's just so good. I don't know. Like I love, like I know you said you thought Stick was fine. Like I liked it because it feels very Ted Lasso adjacent, even though it's not from the people who made Ted Lasso.
Right.
But I love that it's like I don't give a fuck about golf or anything like that. And the same with Ted Lasso. I didn't give a fuck about football, soccer, whatever you want to call it. It's just
For sure.
how they display humanity and, you know.
Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Again,
It doesn't matter what anything's about. It doesn't. If
it doesn't.
it shouldn't. If it's good, it doesn't matter, right? That's the bottom line. Yep.
And I love that, especially TV shows now are exploring, because like obviously there's a like a 9-year age gap difference. Like our parents, like mental health was not a thing at all. It was like shunned, and it's the way that has changed. The conversation of that stuff has changed. I think is obviously very important.
No doubt.
The way it's being displayed in media, I think is so refreshing to be like, if there is something quote unquote wrong with you, you're not broken. We all go through this stuff and we all handle it different ways. We all get through it different ways. And I just love that the things that we consume are portraying it that way. So it's like, that's why I like things like Stick, things like Ted Lasso, things like Shrinking. Like I feel myself like culminating or like drawn to those things just to see, like, it helps you like understand your brain a little better.
Totally.
You know what I mean? It being like, oh, I get that. I felt that. Oh, wow. Like I'm not alone in feeling that way. It's nice. Like obviously it's like in the counterculture of alternative music, how many songs and stuff have been written about that stuff, or even 100%. Going to shows, it's a big thing of, we wanted a place where we felt like we belong and we found it in that. But I feel like that on top of us actually talking about the things that we feel, I feel like are so important. And I'm so happy it's being explored that way rather than, and I'm sure all of us have been fallen victim of, keeping things in too long and letting it explode in some way, shape, or fashion that is detrimental to yourself or the people you love. So I don't know. It's nice to see that being talked about more, I guess.
I'm into that, brother.
Yes, dude. But Shane, this did not go any way I thought it would, but I think that's awesome.
What did you think?
No,
what's gonna happen?
I don't know. I think that's the beauty of these things is you don't really know how things are gonna go. It's the beauty of this podcast is that I get to talk this stuff with people I've like listened to their music for a lot of years. And it's cool to connect with people in a different way than you think you might, but
yeah, man.
This was
thank you. It was
pleasure.
I mean, it's fun for me to talk about some different things too. Like I don't usually dive into my, the history of my, own like, consumption of TV and movies and my whole background and everything on that. So it's probably people that listen to this that have only heard me in other interviews talk about, music, I guess, for the most part. This is be a lot different too.
Cool. I'm so happy we did this.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. And yeah, congrats on such a longevity of a great podcast.
Well, thank you so much. But before we get out here, let the people know where they can find Silverstein, what you guys have coming up.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. Yeah, so we have, this year's our 25th anniversary. Actually, we've been a band for 25 years, which is pretty wild. We've done a bunch of touring already celebrating that, but we've got the final tour of the 25th anniversary coming up in the US this November, December. So we're going to be playing some major markets, including like, New York and Riverside, California, Las Vegas, etc. And Western Canada as well, which is exciting. So yeah, people check that out. Silversteinmusic.com for all that stuff. You can find me on social media. It's just at Shane Told on pretty much everything. We got a new record actually coming out September 12th, I believe. It is called Pink Moon, and yeah, it's our best record yet. So it's exciting times for us.
Hell yeah. I'll make sure and link everything down below so you can go check out Silverstein, support what they have coming up. And if you want to support the podcast, just go to metalcorenerds.com. All our links there in one easy place. And if you want to follow me in my personal accounts, it's just at SeanXMod on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time, see you later, nerds.